Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Morocco is quietly experiencing one of the fastest economic growth rates on the planet, and most Americans are unaware of it. By 2025, the Kingdom of Morocco aims to become the undisputed leader of the African business sector, and the numbers prove it. Start with the basics. Morocco is already the fifth largest economy in Africa with a GDP of roughly $154 billion this year. That puts it ahead of Algeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Angola. Only Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa, and Algeria are bigger, and two of those are sliding backward fast. The IMF and World Bank both project Morocco to grow 3.6% in 2025, but Fitch Solutions is more aggressive and says closer to 5%, because tourism is exploding, foreign direct investment is flooding in, and the country just locked in some of the biggest industrial deals on the continent. Let's talk cars first, because this one blows people's minds. Morocco is now Africa's #1 automobile manufacturer. Last year they built 614,000 vehicles. Renault and Stellantis have giant plants there. They're cranking out Dacias, Peugeots, and Citroëns cheaper than Eastern Europe and shipping them duty-free into the European Union thanks to the US-Morocco Free Trade Agreement that's been in place since 2006. American companies are in on it too. Michigan-based Lear Corporation and Aptiv have huge wiring harness and electronics factories in Tangier and Kenitra. By 2030, Morocco wants to hit 1 million vehicles a year. That would put them ahead of Mexico on a per capita basis. Think about that. Next, phosphates. Morocco sits on 70% of the world's known reserves, actually 70%. Their state-owned giant OCP controls about a third of the global phosphate trade. When fertilizer prices went insane after the Ukraine war, Morocco made an absolute fortune. OCP is now investing billions downstream into green ammonia and green hydrogen, because phosphate plus cheap renewable energy equals the cheapest green fertilizer on Earth. Europe is already signing 20-year offtake agreements. Speaking of energy, Morocco gets almost 40% of its electricity from renewables right now, mostly wind and solar. They just awarded $32.5 billion in green hydrogen projects in 2025 alone. Companies from Germany, France, Australia, and yes, the United States are racing to lock in capacity. The goal is to export green molecules to Europe through the existing Maghreb-Europe gas pipeline and reverse flow, and eventually through new dedicated hydrogen pipelines. Now look at the map. Morocco is 3,500 miles closer to West Africa than China is. That matters. Moroccan banks, telecom companies, and cement producers are the biggest foreign players in places like Ivory Coast, Senegal, Mali, and Gabon. A Tangier Med bank is in more African countries than any other African bank. Maroc Telecom has 70 million subscribers south of the Sahara. The stock of Moroccan FDI in sub-Saharan Africa grew 8.3% per year from 2009 to 2019, and it hasn't slowed down since. The crown jewel is the port of Tangier Med. It is the largest container port in the entire Mediterranean and the biggest in Africa for the 8th year running. In 2024 it handled over 9 million TEUs. That's 20-foot equivalent units. For context, the port of Savannah does about 5.8 million. Tangier Med is now the 18th busiest container port on planet Earth, and by 2029 they want to be top 10. Maersk, CMA CGM, and Hapag-Lloyd all use it as their main transshipment hub for West Africa. Goods from Asia come in, get relabeled made in Morocco, and sail straight into the EU or the US tariff-free. Add the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline, a 3,500-mile monster that will run along the Atlantic coast all the way from the Niger Delta to Morocco and then into Europe. 14 African countries have already signed on. If it gets built, and the money is lining up, it will be the biggest energy infrastructure project in African history. Africa's Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA, started trading in 2021. Morocco was one of the first to ratify and is positioning itself as the Northern Gateway. Think of it as the Rotterdam of Africa. Wall Street is paying attention. Moroccan Eurobonds are some of the best performing emerging market debt of the last 5 years. The central bank has $36 billion in forex reserves, enough for 9 months of imports. Public debt is down to 68% of GDP, investment-grade credit rating from Moody's is literally one notch away. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, all have teams on the ground now. U.S. exports to Morocco hit $3.8 billion last year. Boeing, Caterpillar, and John Deere are expanding factories there because labor is skilled, energy is cheap, and you get duty-free access to a billion-person African market plus the European Union. Here's what most people still get wrong. They think Morocco is just deserts and tourists in Fez. Reality check, the unemployment rate for college graduates is high, Yes, around 20% overall, 35% for youth in some cities, but the industrial zones are sucking up engineers like crazy. Average manufacturing wage is about $400 a month, but in the new automotive and aerospace clusters it's closer to $800 to $1,000 plus benefits, and that's growing 6 to 8% a year. The government just rolled out universal health coverage and family allowances for 22 million people. That's social stability money can't buy in most African countries. Big events are coming. Morocco co-hosts the 2030 World Cup with Spain and Portugal. They're spending $15 billion on stadiums, high-speed rail, and hotels. The 2025 Africa Cup of Nations is basically a dress rehearsal. Every construction crane you see in Casablanca right now is part of that bet. So where does this leave us? By 2030, on current trajectory, Morocco's GDP will be pushing $200 billion. If the green hydrogen bets pay off and the car industry hits 1 million units, some analysts say 250 billion is realistic. That would make it the third or even second largest economy in Africa, leapfrogging Algeria and possibly Egypt. For American investors and companies, the message is simple. Morocco is the most business-friendly, politically stable, westward-looking gateway into the world's fastest-growing continent. It has free trade deals with the United States, the European Union, Turkey, and now the UK post-Brexit. It has modern infrastructure, a young educated workforce that speaks French, Spanish, Arabic, and increasingly good English, and a king who has made economic opening the centerpiece of his 25-year reign. Bottom line, Africa's future economic powerhouse isn't in Lagos or Johannesburg anymore. A big chunk of it is being built right now on the northwest corner of the continent, 14 miles from Europe, with American trade deals, European factories, and a very clear ambition to dominate the next decade. Morocco isn't asking for permission. They're just doing it. If you're an investor, exporter, or just someone trying to figure out where the next big opportunity is hiding, start paying very close attention to the country most people still can't spell. Because while everyone's watching AI stocks and crypto, Morocco is quietly building the industrial and logistical backbone of 21st century Africa. And they're doing it faster than almost anyone realizes. That's all for today. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Morocco's rise isn't slowing down, neither should your portfolio.